Okay. Very specifically, I've been saying from the jump that the Zuckerberg infusion of $400 million into 5 states has been unexplained. It is dangerous. What say you?
I think the Zuck Bucks thing that by which he funneled $332 million through the Center for Technology and Civic Life and about $75 million for the Center for Election Innovation and Research. It is the big story of the 2020 election, in my view. And we've been reporting on that and analyzing that for the last 2 years.
And let me stop you. That story has not been reported. I'm one of the few journalists who even raised it. It's been totally blanked out. Now, from your article, I'm going to make this interview easy for you. You believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of this money was paid to people in cities like Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Detroit, to go into nursing homes, elderly apartments, give these people votes, help them fill the votes out for Biden, take the votes to a so-called drop box where they were reported late into the evening and through the election to Biden. Do I have it?
You have it roughly correct. I mean, they funneled all this money into these election offices, basically commandeered them and used them for get out the vote efforts for Joe Biden using practices like the ones you just described. Yes.
Is that illegal?
That's the problem. It seems to be an illegal gray area, but it should be illegal. It is illegal, I think, in 31 states now. It's like nobody could see this coming. And when it started happening, nobody really even knew about it until late in the summer of 2020. Nobody really knew what to make of it or what to do about it. Now, some of the things that were done in connection with that money, I think, were illegal. Electioneering. There might have been misappropriation of money because all this $330 million funneled into local election offices with no accounting oversight is really a mess. And for example, in Wisconsin, when the Wisconsin Election Commission gave people permission to fill out mail-in ballots with the qualification that they were disabled, that they were not able to make it to the polling place. That was illegal. So
yeah, so the people brought the ballots in rather than sending them in the mail, which you're legally the states can do. If you petition, look, I need a mail-in ballot because I can't walk. So send it to my address. I'll fill it out and send it back. That's not what happened in a lot of cases. These highly paid people got the ballots, brought them in, and then said, well, the people were disabled, but there was no proof to that, correct?
Right. As a matter of fact, people in Wisconsin were encouraged to use fear of catching COVID as an excuse for disability, so that they wouldn't have to vote in person. And obviously, that's illegal. Furthermore, I believe the Wisconsin Supreme Court, after the election, judged that those ballot drop boxes that CTCL money was used to pay for were illegal. So every ballot that was put in a ballot drop box in Wisconsin was technically an illegitimate ballot because there
but the
should
U.S.
never.
Supreme Court wasn't challenged on it and didn't rule on it, which is what
Right.
should have happened. Now,
Exactly.
when you have a system where there's this much money, and again, people are being paid to do this, all right? So there are people going out with ballots, physical ballots, going into people's rooms, apartments, homes, telling the person this is what you have to do. The person does it, Biden for president. They take the ballot, they put it in a drop box. Those people get an enormous amount of money for doing that, paid for by Zuckerberg, correct?
Yes. Exactly.
That's just shocking that is what we have right now in play in the United States. Some of that is mitigated by the states, as you mentioned, but some of it isn't. It's going to happen all over again.
You know how much money they spent? Do you know how much money CTCL spent in Georgia, Bill? $45 million. They spent a little over 10 million in Wisconsin, but Georgia was the #1 state. And you saw how hotly contested Georgia was. $45 million, mainly into 10 election offices.
Yeah, Fulton County. And that's what the Trump people have. Now, if that's a fact, and I believe it is, okay, why didn't Raffensperger and the Georgia Republican authorities flag that all day long?
That's the $60,000 question. Maybe it was because they thought that the CTCL money would not hurt their election chances. And maybe they're part of that faction of the Republican Party that would prefer that Donald Trump was out of the picture so that their hegemony over the party would be supreme. As you know, there are a lot of, not a lot, but there are some powerful Republicans who would prefer that Donald Trump just went away.
Yeah, sure. Are you worried, final question, are you worried that this Zuckerberg thing could influence the election of 2024? Are you worried about that?
I'm very worried about it. And here's why. When you spend that much money in building up a kind of shadow election system in 2020, that money is not just poured down a sinkhole. It's used to create an infrastructure. It's like building a factory. And that infrastructure can be used in subsequent elections to do the exact same thing that it accomplished in 2020. It may not have exactly the same amount of walking around money that the original scheme had, but I based on my analysis of what happened in 2022 in Georgia anyway, that residual infrastructure is still alive and well and working to turn out Democratic ballots in those 5 states.
All right, Doctor, we appreciate it very much. Keep us posted if you find out more specifics. And again, the Trump campaign has all that information now, and they are going to present the information. I told you this, I read it, to the Supreme Court. All right? And so things may happen now, but you're not going to get this kind of reportage anywhere else. This is what's in play. So at least the Supreme Court will learn what the doctor learned, what I learned last night, at least the allegations. Okay? They'll know that. And I think that's an important thing.